Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our City Council regular meeting for May 2nd, 2023 at 7:04. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilmember Ross.
Present.
Councilmember Mann.
Present.
Councilmember Soto.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Samra.
Present.
Mayor Moran.
Present.
For the record, all council members, Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor are in attendance.
Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? If we can all remain standing for a moment of silence for our first responders and military members, please. Thank you. In regards to closed session announcements, council voted to reject the claims. And in regards to claim number 5 for Cecilia Molina, claim is rejected because the place of incident is outside of the city limits. And we also have another announcement in regards to closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. On April 4th, 2023, the council in closed session agreed to a tentative settlement agreement with now former city manager Vanessa Portillo. Since that meeting and following the past meeting as well, that agreement has become fully effective and is now reported out completely.
Thank you. Council, are there any changes to the agenda? Okay, seeing none. Next, we have and just to double check, in regards to item number 4 in closed session, claim by Carolina Figueroa was also rejected. Next item is citizen comments. Are there any comments in on the phone? Hearing none, comments in the chamber. This section of the agenda allows members of the public to address the City Council on any item not otherwise on the agenda. Members of the public, when recognized by the mayor, should come forward to the lectern and identify themselves. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes in accordance with state open meeting laws. No action will be taken by the City Council this evening for items which are on the agenda this evening. Members of the public will be provided an opportunity to address the City Council as each item is brought up for discussion. Yes, welcome.
Hello, Jackie Benoit, 1416 C Street, Livingston, California. This is not a recreation item, so I thought citizens' comment would be a great place to do it. But one of our residents, Patty Kishi, came in, and I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but they are looking at making Amachi a federal or a national park. And so if you don't know what Amachi is, it was the internment camp that many of our residents went to in the 1940s during World War II. And so the national park wants to have input from our residents, from our electeds, and they are going to be doing that Sunday, May 7th from 3 to 5 at Livingston United Methodist Church at Pioneer Hall, and the address is on here, and I do have a copy for each of you. But if you cannot make the meeting, at the bottom of this paper, it talks about questions that the National Park is looking for input on. So I did post it on Facebook, so any of our residents could go on and be a part of the public comment period. But since it has affected us and our community so deeply, I thought this would be a great thing to share with you guys. So with that.
Thank you, Jackie. Very much appreciated. So this is May 7th. From 3 to 5.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. Any other comments? Any other public comments in the chamber? Seeing none. We're moving on. Announcements and reports. Supervisor Rodrigo Espinosa, announcements and reports. Not present. City staff announcements and reports. Chief of Police, in this case, Lieutenant. Work plan for code compliance officer.
So Mayor, while Lieutenant Ramirez is coming to the front, we wanted to provide some background and just a basis for what the code compliance officer is going to be working on. These priorities have been established based on the council feedback, as well as some of the concerns that have been raised by the public. So we're happy to take any additional feedback and other comments related to the work plan for the code compliance officer, Mayor, and council. So thank you.
Hello, good evening. So, like City Manager was saying, we've developed, looks like 6 areas that we're going to have of high importance, again, from feedback that's been, came back to the police department. And some of the areas of interest that we're looking at is going to be health and safety issues, including substandard housing, such as illegal structures, dangerous properties, or items on the property. The city has identified many different residences, structures that are either substandard or a threat to public health and safety. These locations should be brought into compliance through education or enforcement efforts to protect health and safety. The second area is going to be the homeless issue, including help and assistance in finding placement and shelter for those who are homeless. Although the homeless population in the city of Livingston is not overwhelming, staff will be focused on ways to assist, relocate, and provide services to those that are in need. And a couple of notations I had was just the Merced shelters, Stanislaus County, and as well as mental health. Animal control issues, as you all are aware, the code compliance officer also took on the animal control assignment. So that is a key issue and one of the importance that we also have included, which would be implementing a program for stray animals and continued communication relationships with county partners. Feral and stray cats have long been problems within the city of Livingston, as you all are aware of. It is the hope of the Livingston Police Department to bring a trap and release program, or TNR, to the city. This type of program not only improves the lives of cats, but also addresses community concerns. And as you all are aware right now with the county, we're able to take 5 cats a week or 1 a day. And Officer Mulgado has been doing that. The fourth is parking enforcement, including illegal truck parking, as well as residential and truck parking, illegal use of truck routes in the city. And also business licensing issues, including street vendors and other businesses operating without a valid city license. These types of businesses may pose a threat to public due to the lack of inspections and sanitary facilities and establishments. And as of the last few months since Officer Mulgado has been in, he's handled approximately 12 different places without business license, and as of today, 8 of them have been in compliance, so he's done a very good job with that. And lastly, review of existing municipal code, remedies and enforcement actions. While the city aims to achieve compliance, a punitive approach may be the only remedy to achieve compliance. Staff will be reviewing the existing code to make policy changes. And as of today, he has also came up with a form, a courtesy notice, basically to let people know that they're in violation of certain municipal codes, and that has worked well so far. So if there's any direction that I can take back and discuss with the chief, we're open to any suggestions, but that's kind of, in a nutshell, some of the main stuff that we've came up with.
Council, any questions, any suggestions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Lieutenant
Yes.
Ramirez. On the item number 2, the homeless issues,
Yes.
when, I know it says it's not that prevalent for us, but there is, of course, we know there is some homeless in the city.
Yes.
Just what can we offer them? I mean, we don't have permanent housing. What do you do if you encounter a homeless person? What's the assistance or what's being done? What are your plans there?
Yeah, so I think right now when we talk about it's not as big as we're talking about other cities. If you go to other cities around Merced County into Stan County and Fresno County, there's a huge population. So that's kind of what we're making the comparison to. Here in Livingston, we do have some homeless. I would say if I was to take a guess, I would say probably maybe up to 15. I don't see a lot of them, blocking sidewalks or kind of making encampments around the areas. If they do, it's going to be kind of generally hidden. And sometimes we've got Caltrans involved with that. Some of the programs that we do have is we'll ask them if they want to, go to Merced because they do have assistance programs out there. Also in Stanislaus County, they provide assistance as well. In my experience, and just this is not speaking for all of them, but a lot of the times when we do ask them for assistance or to take them or provide them assistance, they a lot of times don't want it, unfortunately. So one of the things that we've also tried to work with in the past is mental health. That is a big key issue. I know with some of you mentioned that before too. So kind of getting some of those programs started. We haven't really had a program per se to deal with them a lot in the city itself, but there is stuff in the county that they can reach out to, or we can kind of get them also.
Yeah, so if a homeless person, a contact is made and that person says, yes, I want assistance, we don't do it. So do we say that you say, they have services in Stanislaus County or Merced County outside? What do? We put them in a vehicle, take them here, or we just?
So we could provide them a ride, transportation. Also, some of these places will come out and provide transportation. A lot of the times, again, I'm speaking just from experience, that when we offer these type of services, a lot of times it's no alcohol. There's curfew, and a lot of times that curbs these people from not going into the shelters, unfortunately. We just can't take people in the car.
No,
I get
that.
But there is ways, and we've done that and tried to help, and we've had even where we've reached out to family members that they may have lost contact with, and we've given them an avenue. I know just a few months ago I dealt with one at McDonald's, and got a hold of her family in Texas, and they were actually able to pay for an Uber and have her taken to Merced, and it worked out very well. And she actually sent me an email later.
Oh, that's
thanking us. So
Oh, okay. Thank you, Lieutenant.
yes.
So something that came up and that I actually have in my report for later, but I think this is a good opportunity since we're talking about what are some of the things that Code of Compliance is going to be working on. And maybe city manager can add to this in regards to graffiti abatement.
Yeah, Mayor, one of the things that the Public Works Director, Anthony, and I spoke about this morning is formalizing a graffiti removal program. Right now, we don't have one. And so one of the things that's a really big concern is that if we were to go on private property, there are liability issues that present themselves. So one of the things that Anthony and I spoke about is looking at other communities, identifying a program, and then bringing that to council for formal approval, because that is a concern in terms of quality of life and what the community looks like. We know that this council cares highly about what the community looks like, and so we would want to make sure that we've got all of the mechanisms in place that allow us to abate graffiti in the proper manner. So it is something that staff is looking at, and we look forward to bringing back a proposal for the council to weigh in on.
And I can also add that we have been working with Public Works over the last few weeks. I just took a call from Mr. Avina last week about some graffiti that they found in the morning. During some research and checking, I found out the officers actually already went out there and pulled a report, took photographs, and we were able to clean it up. So, and I know years ago we did have a vehicle that was out, covering up the graffiti. We would let Public Works know or send a notice in, and they would get it cleaned up on the location and stuff. So I don't know if we still have the truck that's available to do that, but we did have one before years ago.
And then also, I think this is good, so for information for the public that whenever someone reaches out, I encourage them to contact PD, because not only just to go through the process and clean it up, but also so that you guys can have an opportunity to go out and take pictures and document it.
Yes.
Just in case it's connected or related or to some case later down the road. So I, encourage people to go ahead and call PD and let you guys know.
Yes.
So that you guys are aware, and then you guys can go through the process and for proper documentation and then later it could be figure out who's got.
Yeah, that is helpful. A lot of times the taggers are, from a what we call tagging crews, or it could be just a single lone person. But if we can later apprehend that person, and a lot of times they'll have their tagging paraphernalia with them, and we can kind of go back and look at notes or pictures from some of the graffiti around town and then charge them with that later, which we've done before. So yes, we do encourage the public to call us.
All right. Anything else, Council?
Lieutenant, do we still have that truck? I know that was probably way back for the Paul Creighton days with the graffiti.
I know when I was promoted in 2012, I know that we had it a little bit before that and during, because we were, out doing a lot of the gang stuff at that point, and we would call them and or fill out a work order, and they would come clean it up, and after we photographed it, and it would get done pretty quick.
My question was, do we still have it?
I'm not sure if we do.
Okay.
It was a Public Works vehicle that we had.
Yeah, Anthony is nodding. Is it operational still?
Yeah, Public Works still does have the graffiti abatement vehicle. It's not fully equipped as it was 2006, 2010, 2010. But we still do utilize it. It does have a spray gun on it, a pressure washer, and staff still does use it to abate graffiti at this time.
Yeah, that truck, City of Fresno helped us out in designing it. And we were in Fresno talking to Mayor Autry at the time, and no longer now the mayor, but Chief Dyer at the time, They helped us design it, so.
So yes, we do have it. It sounds like we still have it. So.
Thank you. I also wanted to know, under item number 1, about the structures. You did mention that compliance through education. Is that the same concept as what we're talking about when you mentioned with the homeless is providing the resources, going out there, giving them warnings or letters?
Yeah. Some people, they don't know that you can't have certain structures in their yard, or 3 or 4 of them, so they can go out and it's education as well, not just enforcement.
This is part of the policy that you guys are
Yes.
going through. Also, I had a question in regards to, and it just popped in my head regarding yard sales. Probably would go under item number 5. Do you know that off the top of your head? What is the protocol, the policy?
Yeah, so for a yard sale, they have to come into City Hall and get a permit for the yard sale. It could be either a 1-day, 2-day permit. They have to have it with them when they're doing the yard sale, and I believe they have, I want to say it's maybe no more than 2 a month that they can do. But that is something that he could also enforce if we're out there. That does include, like you said, item 5.
So after they document that they've got the permit, that stays in file over here at City Hall or with you?
I believe they give them a copy of it, which they have. And
So they have it on their
Yes.
person when they come
Yes.
by?
Yeah, because normally the yard sales are going to be on weekends when they're closed, so they do have access to that.
Are they given an agreement to follow up on or to to stay within certain,
Yes, it has guidelines on there. and
Guidelines,
rules.
thank you.
Yes, it does. It does have everything on there.
okay. If I can see a copy, that would be great.
Anything else, council? Good. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have city manager announcements and reports.
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
All right.
I do have a question, though, for you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I believe it was on the April 2nd meeting that I had asked for a presentation to be brought forward to council in regards to regulations for cannabis workshop. I just wanted to know where we were with it.
So I'm currently trying to evaluate all of the things that are required for the follow-up items. I don't have any formal information tonight, council member, but I can certainly follow up via email.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anyone? Next, we have council members' announcements and reports. Mr. Mann?
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to report at this time.
Mr. Jason Roth?
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the city-county relations dinner at the Mainzer. The keynote speaker, and I can't think of her name, I believe it was Kim. Very informative. She's doing great things down in Merced. I also would like to thank the the fire department. They came down to my neighbor's house, and they were very prompt, and I'd like to just say thanks to Mike Hernandez. He's on it. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Soto?
There wasn't a LAFCO meeting on April 20th. Unfortunately, I did not attend. I did print the minutes, however, I don't have them. But they are online for those of you that are curious as to what transpired that evening on April 20th. I just want to make a report on the work that we're doing with the VFW. Open Cockpit is this Saturday, May 6th, from 8 to 4, or 8 to 2, rather. They are looking for volunteers, so those of you out in the community that want to support our veterans, please come out and help our local Livingston Post and our DAV. Also today, in conjunction with the Winton VFW Post, I had put out, maybe in January, I had announced that we were doing a Illustrating America art contest, and I had put it out to our elementary school and to our high school and out to the community so that residents can get can encourage their children to participate. We gave out 13 awards at a local high school, and then on May 5th, I'll be going to St. Anthony's School to award about 30 students with certificates and gift cards for their efforts in participating in the local art contest for our VFW. Put this in your calendar as well. May 30th is the Memorial Day services. Our VFW always observes May 30th as the day to honor our fallen veterans. So May 30th at Memorial Park. May 4th, on behalf of the Merced County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, we will have our downtown Mercado. It'll be from 6 to 9 in downtown Merced, so I invite you to come out and have a great time and see what transpires in the downtown of Merced. And one day I hope to grow that here in Livingston in our downtown as well. So it'll be a good time, 6 to 9 on Thursday night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. For me, I have I try to not do so many things, but I only have 2 pages. So just real quick, I want to say I want to thank the Public Works Department for being prompt and in regards to some citizens' concerns. About a week ago or so, there was a pipe that was, not a pipe, but a pump, right? A backflow pump? Water line. A water line, yeah, that had been leaking water into their yard for a long time. And so they brought up that concern to me. I forwarded to city staff, and they were able to be out there quick and figure out what it was and needed to be replaced. Residents are happy, so, and they say thank you, so to everyone involved. Also, Anthony, thank you for the door stopper. I had been requesting a door stopper for about 2 years. Finally got here. Thank you very much. It helps. I also mentioned there was another resident that connected and shared some graffiti concerns. And I'm glad that that's being addressed. I also refer that to staff, and so that'll be part of also the process for the code enforcement officer. On April 20th, I attended the One Voice delegation workshops. This is more work than I expected, so I figure, but anyway, so it's part of the process, is to make sure we're prepared for what we need to do and accomplish when we travel to Washington asking for money. Also on April 20th, I attended the MCAG meeting. It was probably the shortest meeting we ever had. It's about 40 minutes. And I will be bringing a report at our next meeting. The same night, April 20th, I attended UC Merced Chancellor Dinner, where the Chancellor had an opportunity to share some of the things that university is doing to benefit our Central Valley schools. And great to hear that it's also expanding their building. Actually, this year they have the first cohort of medical students that will be at UC Merced, and they're working to expand that into they're planning to build a new building that is going to house the medical school. So it's always great news for our local region. I forgot when, but I think it was the following Tuesday, I attended the Board of Supervisors meeting. The first meeting they had in the evening, it was full. Actually, there were not enough seats for everyone attending. And that goes to show how much Merced County residents want to participate in the decision-making process. And hopefully there's more meetings in the evening, because when normal regular meetings are held at 10 o'clock in the morning, everybody's working. So it makes it more difficult for residents to participate. On April 27th, I attended the city-county dinner in Merced. It's always great to hang out a little bit with the other council members from around Merced County and the Board of Supervisors. Also, on the 18th, I attended the Yamato Colony Spring Fair, which was just basically another great event, not only for the students and parents, but also for everyone in the community, and it's a good way to fundraise money as well. It was fun. On Saturday, the 29th, this last Saturday, I was invited by the Livingston Union School District. They organized their first annual parent conference, and I was invited as a keynote speaker for the parents attending. Probably they had a little bit over 50 or so parents attending the conference, which was great for the first, for being the first time, and looking forward to the next second annual parent conference. That same evening on Saturday, I attended Rondaya's recital in Sacramento. And Rondallas it's like this, it's a group of musicians, it's all guitars, all string guitars, and they had 3 rondallas coming from Mexico, from different states, and it was just a great cultural event, and I was invited to address the crowd as well. Tomorrow we are having the spay and neuter program roundtable here in the chambers from 4:30 to 6 o'clock. So everyone is welcome to attend, and please bring your ideas in regards to TNR or the spay and neuter program. And this is the opportunity to hear what your recommendations are in regards to a TNR and spay and neuter program. So this is tomorrow here in the chamber from 4:30 to 6 o'clock. And just to mention some upcoming events, this Friday it's the what's normally known as the Cinco de Mayo Festival at Livingston High School, but it's also this year is known or has been advertised as the cultural festival in the old gym at Livingston High School, and it all starts at 5:30, and it's free to attend, so everyone is welcome to attend. There's going to be some food, Mexican food, and this event, what's great about it is that it's completely organized by the students from start to finish, and then not only that, but there's going to be a lot of performances, all done by students. It normally runs about an hour and a half to 2 hours, so arrive early because that way you don't have a hard time finding a parking space. Also, this coming Saturday, everyone is invited to attend the Livingston Festival of Bands band review here at the high school. This is the second annual festival, and we're gonna be having 12 bands. Actually, no, not 12 bands. 12 schools participating, and they're all participating not only in the marching band competition, they're also participating in jazz, concert, and drumline. And there's going to be special presentations by Banda Lira Coreana de Livingston, which is the Portuguese band. So they're going to be performing, and also Mercer College Jazz will be performing. And it all starts at 8:30, and it ends, the marching band competition ends about 10:30, 11, and then everything else will happen inside in the gym and in the cafeteria, and it ends about 3:30, 4:30 p.m. Food vendors will be there, and all the food vendors will be facilitated by the high school clubs. Also, on May 30th, here in the chambers, there will be a business and resources event. So, but I will provide more information once they send me the flyer sometime this week. So for businesses out there in the community, this will be a good opportunity to attend. Also, on May 31st, this is on Sunday, May 31st, there will be a food box distribution by the United Farm Workers Foundation at Memorial Park. And this will be from around 8:30 to about until the last box is delivered. And there will be food boxes for at least 200 people or 200 families. And then on Saturday, there is the fire department pancake breakfast at the fire station from 7 to 11. Make sure if you need tickets, you can buy tickets. I think is there a pre-sale tickets? Yes, and then if you don't have tickets, you can pay the day off on Saturday from 7 to 11th. And that's it, I'm done. Thank you. All right. And next we have City Treasurer's Investment Report. Do we have a,
Yes, so Mayor, this is a placeholder so that when the treasurer does provide those reports, that's where the report will go, Mayor.
perfect. So we don't, she's not online?
There is no report that's been submitted today, Mayor.
Perfect, thank you. All right, next we have the consent agenda. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine and non-controversial and will be enacted by one vote unless separate action is requested by the city manager or city council member. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the city council or city manager request that specific items be removed. Council?
I'd like to get, I have some questions in regards to item number 3 and item number 4.
Do you want to take those out, or you want questions to be?
If they could just be addressed, the questions be answered. So yeah, you can take them out
Okay,
for
so,
discussion.
all right. So what is your question in regards to, you said item number 3?
The question I had in regards to item number 3 is when will the agreement be available? And then I also wanted to know how are the hours of the pool being decided? The amount of days? I mean, I know that's the makeup of the budget, but the rationale of having it late at night, I just want to hear why those items were decided that way, because when I think about the pool being open, I think back to my days as a child, and that pool was open all day. And I know this is a startup, and we're working this out. But when I envisioned it, I saw children swimming during the midday when it's really hot, and being open and just the way it was back in the day. But I know that we are starting this up, but I just wanted to know why the hours are late in the evening and how the budget, because I see how the staff is being paid, I've saw that, but just the hours of operation.
So the high school will be using the pool from morning until 2 p.m. because they have water polo and they have to have X amount of hours to train for the boys and X amount of hours to train for the girls. So for us, rather than bringing the morning swim lessons that we normally have had, those kids are so cold and shivering, so we felt like going a straight shot from 2 o'clock until 8 would be good lesson-wise. Now, one of the things that we did determine is that the biggest portion of the kids that came to swim from noon until 2 when we had the pool opened, in the middle of the day, were summer day camp. We aren't running summer day camp. So the days that summer day camp didn't come, we had very few kids, not even the 25 that it kept, that we had to keep it open. So that's how we came to the conclusion that we would have our best attendance from 2 o'clock until evening swim. And our evening swims were always 75 to 150 people because they would come home from work or the kids would come home from summer school or wherever it was that they were, and then they would come and want to swim. So that's...
Was there a possibility even to look at another month in July
for
the pool to be open? This is just a 1 month.
So the reason that we're asking is because I did not budget the pool for this fiscal year. So that's why it will be open in July and it will be open in August because it will be budgeted in the next fiscal year. So that's how it, no worries. So, yeah.
Anything else, council? Next question, item number 4. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Anthony. Let me get back to it. I know that we're repairing. The first part was them to come out and assess, and then now these are all the parts. I just wanted to know if there was some type of warranty or some type of on all the parts that we're paying for here?
Yeah, so standard installation of equipment, they come standard with the 1-year warranty. Now, the main component in that pump rebuild is the impeller. Those impellers last a
9,000,
long
yeah.
time. They're made out of solid steel, so we'd have to pump rocks for a long time to cause any damage. So, also that pump is a large 35 horsepower pump, and those pumps brand new cost about $55,000-$60,000, and it's about over 20 years. So we have we got our money worth out of this piece of equipment. Life expectancy is about there already, but upon inspection, the company did say the housing was still good. It's still a good candidate to rebuild and save a little bit of money for now.
And how often are those inspections made? How often are you checking on the equipment before it gives out?
Equipment, as in submersible, the pumps, the one we're talking about right now, that type of equipment is on an as-needed basis because it's underwater and pumping. So operators usually don't pull those pumps until we start seeing that maybe starting to pull a little bit more amps. Then we know it's starting to get plugged up and pulling a little bit more. But guys have been doing a good job. We do have a maintenance program that they check, fill out, grease, and check amps, see what it's pulling, and repair it. And most of the time it's solids and a bunch of other stuff I won't say that needs to get cleaned out. But the guys have been doing a good job.
Thank you, Anthony.
Anything else, council, in regards to this item? All right. So now going back to the consent agenda, what's your desire?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
So we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilmember Roth?
Yes.
Councilmember Mann?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Samar?
Yes.
Mayor Moran?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. Next, we have public. Okay, so before we move forward, is there any public comment in regards to the consent agenda items on the phone? In the chamber? Hearing none, coming back to the dais. Next, we have public hearings. Item number 6, resolution to acknowledge accomplishments and confirm closeout of the Community Development Block Grant Program.
Mr. Ashby?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council, Paul Ashby, Adams Ashby Group. I'm going to be just giving you a quick overview of this item. Bit of a housekeeping item, just something that the state requires as the council on this took action last year. This is going to be for your most recent CDBG grant, which stands for the Community Development Block Grant. This was awarded in May of 2021, and you received just a little over $3 million. Because you're a smaller city, you operate in the non-entitlement program, meaning you apply for these funds on a yearly or every other year basis through the state of California Housing Community Development, HCD. The project has been done. It's been completed. This was the sewer line that was completed on F Street near 7th and 8th, and it was actually already, the notice of completion was already filed by the City Council and adopted back in September of 2022. And at this point, now that we have made all of our report current to the state, we've drawn down all the funds that we're able to. We are now going through the formal process of actually doing a public hearing, which is what the state requires. We'll do a resolution acknowledging the accomplishments, and then we will have your interim city manager execute the closeout documents and then send those into the state. As I mentioned, it was just over $3 million. CDBG is a grant-funded program, so there's no loan dollars attached to these. So the recommendation tonight would be to open the public hearing, receive any public comments they might have, and then direct staff to move forward with the closeout of this grant. And if Mr. Mayor or any of the council members have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you, Mr. Ashby. Council, any questions? And I have no questions for myself. All right, so. Okay, so now we're going to open for public hearing. Is there any public comment? Anyone on the phone? Coming back to the chamber. Any public comment on this item in the chamber? All right, coming back to the dais. Anything else, council? So I'm closing the public hearing at 7:50.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion, we direct staff to submit the final reports and close up package to the state.
So we have a motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Councilmember Roth,
Yes.
Councilmember Mann,
Yes.
Councilmember Soto,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Samar,
Yes.
Mayor Moran.
Yes,
Motion approved by a vote of 5-0.
thank you. Next, we have
Thank
discussion.
you very much.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Ashby. Next, we have discussion and potential action items. Item number 7, discussion and direction regarding banking services. Mr. Lopez?
Mayor, just a quick update on this item. The council previously directed us to bring this item forward for discussion. So we did include the agreement with F&M Bank, Farmers and Merchants Bank of Central California. We included the agreement in the backup, and staff is here to take any direction from the council regarding this item. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, is there any public, any?
Well, may I comment?
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor Pro Tem.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before we open to the public, I just want to give a little update. I think on or around April of 2019, around that, I'm not sure the exact, we had several meetings. We were looking for a banking service that we put our different banks applied. And at the time, F&M Bank looked like one of the top getters, because one of the things we were looking for in the city was to have another banking service available, and they had they said that they would open a branch. I know, I heard it. I looked in the agreement, it's not in there, but they stood right there and says that they will open a branch here, and I feel that they have not held up to that part of the bargain. The time has come anyway for us to go out and call for an RFP for banking services. To me, my biggest peeve with them has been that we still don't have it. They did talk to us over time with the previous city manager. They had made comments that they were looking for a building to be in. At the time, buildings were available, but I don't think they were really interested. That's my view. So I know that Councilwoman Soto was there at the time too, I remember, and I'm sure she'll probably add to it to see if I am correct in what they stood there and said it. With that said, that I make, and I ask the council's support in moving this forward to give direction to the staff, A, notify the bank that we intend to call for an RFP, which will start out the process. And by the time we get an RFP, so it'll probably be 3-4 months, who knows, by the time we make our decision, our 6-month notice will have come to term anyway. So unless, and all I'm asking is, had an RFP, have whichever banks want to apply, let them submit their proposals. That's all I'm asking for at this time. So that's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. So this current extension or this current agreement expires normally expires in August 2024. So, but what you're saying, if I'm understanding correctly, is for council to consider submitting a 6 months notice.
Notice, and at the same time, put out an RFP for other banks to apply. I mean, F&M is, of course, free to apply as well. I'm not saying, nobody's excluded. I just think that we need to see what options we have available out there.
So this would first have to be approved by council?
Yes, so the approval I'm seeking is, A, notify the bank that we intend to give a 6-month notice, and at the same time, put on an RFP.
Council?
So if I am understanding, 6 months notice to terminate
Yeah, to terminate
the agreement?
Yes.
In the agreement, it says it's 180 days, so that's, what, is that 60 months?
6 months.
Yes, 6
Oh, okay, sorry, my math is off
It's
right
okay,
now.
it's all right, it's all right.
But one of the things that I do have for you, though, Gopal, is that I was on council at that time, that this discussion was being held with F&M Bank, and I do remember that I did not vote in favor of having F&M here. I preferred the services with West America. But with the agreement being written up the way that it was, and now you're indicating that they didn't stay, they said it, all these verbal agreements and conversations going on, is that I believe that during that time, as mayor, that when you reviewed the agreement, that you should have made sure that it was there in writing, because now what it says, what this agreement actually says in Section 7 is that this agreement between City of Livingston and the bank regarding the matters addressed herein and supersedes all prior negotiations, communications, understandings, and commitments. So written or oral, so whatever was said, if it wasn't in this agreement, it's not getting done. So I believe that with your signature on that agreement and not making sure that they put that in writing, that, hey, we're going to come, because I do remember that conversation. We're going to open, we're looking for some buildings, but this agreement doesn't say that we're going to actually do that, and it's signed.
Councilwoman Soto, you are absolutely correct. To me, the way it was, the agreement, and I'm not defending myself, is when we came to an agreement, looked at everything, we made our decisions, I naturally looked at, legal's looking at it, everybody's looking at it, everything we have should be included in there. Therefore, I did not read every single line. It was something that we worked on and we signed it. I'm not, at the end, my signature is on there. I'm not trying to say that somebody's fault. In the end, I will take the responsibility for it. There were others that did sign, but at the end, when it says mayor, you sign it, it's your responsibility. And for that, I admit that I erred. Maybe I should have been more clear in reading. That portion should have been in there. And for that, I will take the responsibility. And hence, I am now looking forward to have come back and go back to see what else we can do. And so I am asking for the council's support and moving this forward at this time.
If I can add one more recommendation, Section 4.1 has authorized designees who can access these accounts and make changes to them and that are held by the bank, and it is severely dated. And so if the council is going to provide direction to staff, I would suggest that direction include bringing forth a resolution to update the designees a resolution is required to be presented to the bank for them to change the designees.
Thank you.
I think we've done, I know that on this agreement, I'm sorry, I know that on this agreement, that the names do exist there, but don't we consistently update that? Because I know that we've done that with the previous interim, that we've changed designees, we've done that during council. Is that not the process?
Yeah, this was the original agreement. That's why,
It should be double-checked. I don't recall one specifically coming forward since the election and since we have a new interim city manager, so.
We can
I
certainly
agree.
check our records, Councilmember and City Attorney. Thank you.
so if, I would like, having city do its research and whatever paperwork needs to be done, I would like to say at our next council meeting, please, if it's doable.
Council, any more questions, suggestions before I go out for public comment?
No questions, but I just wanted to mention that I am in agreement with Mayor Pro Tem. Love to see what our options are, definitely. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Rott?
I do remember watching that city council meeting before I was on the council, and the gentleman was on the podium, and he did state that they were looking for buildings, as was spoken before. So I am in support of Councilmember Samra also.
All right, so I'm going out for public comment. Any public comment on the phone in regards to this item? Any public comment in the chamber in regards to this item? Seeing none, I'm coming back to the dais. Council, what is your wish? I know you mentioned something, can you make that into a motion, please?
Okay, at this time, all I can really do is give direction to the staff. The direction I'm asking for, and I don't know if it requires a vote, or just a consensus.
Consensus is fine.
That's what I thought.
And I think we have.
I think we already have the consensus, so.
Anything else before we move on? We're good?
Just to understand the direction regarding this item, notice to terminate and then begin the RFP for banking services, am I correct?
Yes, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
And to update the, who signs.
We'll do the research to make sure that we've done it. If not, we'll bring that forward to update that as well.
Yeah.
And then, so all of that will come back to us at another meeting, right? Or is that?
I was hoping for the next meeting, if it's possible.
And I think what you're referring to is related to the updating of the signatories, is that correct?
Signatories.
I don't believe that we need to bring back an RFP or issue the notice of termination back to the council.
Do we need to bring, to the council for notice to terminate?
You do not need to bring the notice to terminate to council. You can just direct staff to issue that notice. With regard to the RFP, it depends on if the council wants to review and approve the RFP to go out first, but the council can direct staff to just put that together and issue it.
Yeah, so my recommendation again is to have the staff move forward with an RFP, and everything needs to be done.
We're good? Mr. Lopez?
Yes, we're good.
Thank you.
I think Happy was trying to say something earlier. Do you?
You're just upset because Lakers or something, right?
They're winning. So the signatures have been updated, so we're not currently, as myself, the mayor, and the treasurer that are currently signers. But if you guys do want to get those signatures changed, then we need direction from you guys to let us change those.
So what we will do is we'll make sure that it was adopted by resolution. We'll provide the resolution, and if it wasn't, we'll go ahead and get that information. But I think that was conveyed during the direction that was provided.
All right, thank you. Moving on, item number 8, discussion on fiscal year 2023-24 budget.
Thank you, Mayor. So I believe Monica is queuing up this presentation. And while that's getting queued up, I really just want to start off by saying thanks to everybody that's been bringing forward all the components of the budget, all the departments, all the divisions, and then obviously the finance team, Brad, Happy, and everybody else in finance who's been doing that. And then Monica for doing incredible setting up of all these discussions, everything related to this budget. I mean, it really takes a team, so I just really wanted to convey that and convey my appreciation. So just by way of background, the fiscal year 23-24 budget must be adopted by June 30th, 2023. That budget will run from July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. And part of that budget, the components of that include revenues, expenditures, the operating budget, capital budget, the general fund, as well as enterprise fund. So it's really the plan that allows everything to happen related to the city. So just by way of background, I wanted to provide the council and the community updates related to the key dates and what we've been doing behind the scenes. In January, budget instructions were provided to staff, and that really set the tone for what was expected of the management team. On February 24th, preliminary expenditures were inputted into the financial system. During the time of March 13th to March 30th, we held initial department division budget reviews with all of the management team. During April 3rd through the 26th, we had our second round of department division budget reviews. Today is the preliminary budget workshop discussion. After this discussion and input and feedback from the council, we will have follow-up discussions with all the departments and all the divisions based on the collective council feedback. We do anticipate having departmental presentations to the council on June 6th, and then for the remainder of June, follow-up discussions as needed. Today's overview is really a high-level discussion related to revenues and expenditures, and then really getting some feedback for the council so that when the staff provides these departmental overviews, you'll have all of the information that's been conveyed here today, inputted and updated in the departmental budgets come June. So the process in more detail, initially primarily driven by the departments and the divisions. So the leadership from each department and division gathered around, reviewed their expenditures, reviewed the needs for the upcoming year, and they provided the input on the initial budget requests. After they inputted that into the financial system, there was a discussion with my office. And what I like to do is have a 3-year historical review of expenditures. And we do a line-by-line review of every single line item in the department's budget. And so this forces departments and division managers to really know their budgets in and out, to understand the things that are in their budget, and then also the high-level things that need to be taken into account during the upcoming year's budget. The 3-year historical also includes a review of the year-to-date expenditures because it helps provide additional context as to how the department is trending and how things are moving along in the department. Part of what is critically important during this time too is getting an understanding of the capacity issues in the department. And what I mean by that is if there are vacancies in the department, if there are positions that are unfilled, that's going to impact what the expenditure should be or will be in that operation. So it's really important during these discussions to get that understanding from the departments as to what's going on within their budgets, and they're really the experts as to what's going on. After that initial review, the expectation was set that the departments would go back, refine their expenditures as well as the revenues, because we also looked at revenues, and then had follow-up discussions. They had follow-up discussions with their team, and then we had a second review done by the city manager's office in tandem with the finance department, again, to drill down on all those questions that we had during the first review, and then ask the staff, the management team, what changes they made to their budgets after those initial discussions. So this is where we'll get into some of the high-level detail related to revenues. So as you can see, we've got the 2023 adopted budget revenues that were included for fiscal year 22-23. You can see that in the 2023-2024 proposed revenues, what we've included there, a slight decline of about 1.5% change in revenues. And so that equates to about $115,000 decline in revenues that we're projecting for the upcoming fiscal year. I should add here that a lot of what's driven here is actual revenues that we're collecting, and then things that we know that are coming down the road, whether that be with projects or whether that be with consulting with our HDL, who is our sales tax and property tax consultant, that is able to provide recommendations, and then staff does refine those recommendations, and then we do our own testing to ensure that we're providing dollar amounts that are really fine-tuned to what we expect to see here at the local level. This next slide is a breakdown of the taxes breakdown, and you can see that the bread and butter of the revenue that drives the general fund is property tax as well as sales tax. And you can see that there is a slight increase on the secured property tax side of about 3.2%. And then on the sales tax, a little bit of growth that equates to just under 2%, which is at 1.7%. And again, these are the conversations that we have with HDL that really provide what's going on at the state level, what's going on at the county level, that helps the staff provide recommendations as to what those revenues are going to be. The other line items obviously are adjusted as well based on what we're seeing on the actual level to provide the most up-to-date information that we can to the council.
Chris, on the franchise, exactly who's paying the franchise fees? Is that Spectrum or who is it?
Happy, do you have that line item detail on your computer that you can pull up? So Happy has all of the information related to all of the revenues and expenditures. So as Happy pulls that up, he can provide the update as to what that is.
It's been some time, but I remember when it used to be the city charged franchise fees. I think now the state manages it, I think. You can continue, you can always come back.
Okay, we'll do that. Are there any other? Sure. Are there any other questions related to this drill down of the taxes breakdown? Okay. So some key takeaways that I briefly talked about in the previous slides. There's a slight increase in overall taxes, decreases in fines and forfeitures revenues, decrease in licenses and permits revenues, increase of about 3.2% in secured property taxes, an increase of 1.7% in sales tax. And here is where I will provide additional commentary to say, your budget's essentially your plan. We all know that with the economy being the way that it is now, some people, depending on who you talk to, are projecting different changes in the economy. This is our best guess or best estimate as to what we expect to see the local economy do in the city. We all know that different events can provide more volatility or more changes in the budget. And so as those things occur during the year, it is important for staff to look at the actual revenues that come in and then provide recommendations to the council to either adjust revenues up or down, depending on how things are going. So this is a moment in time, a glimpse in time. It is our best estimate as to what we expect for the revenue side. So now we'll transition over to the expenditure side. And you can see we've done the same thing as we did with the revenues. We've got the adopted 22-23 budget, total expenditures, and this is on the general fund side, of about $7.5 million. And you can see that the 23-24 proposed budget is actually a decrease of just under $130,000. So the total proposed expenditures come in at $7.4 million, about a 1.7% decrease based on the current year's budget. So key takeaways related to expenditures.
On the fire, I know that we contract with that county, but can we get a better information for the final adoption on I like to see the total expenditure we spend on fire, because that makes it look like that's all we're paying for fire services, not the true number.
Yeah, the reality of it is, and I do have this information, it's about $1 million that the county retains on property taxes to fund fire services. We can certainly drill down on that when we have the departmental review of
Yeah.
their budgets.
Yeah, because that makes it look like, we're paying hardly anything for fire services, which is not true, so.
Yeah, this is the general fund contribution to the fire services, but as you alluded to, there is a larger component, over $1 million, that is being contributed to the fire services.
Okay.
And we'll drill down on that in the departmental discussions. So key takeaways on the expenditure side, there is an overall decrease in expenditures. There are some items that have been included in the proposed 23-24 budget, including trainings and seminars for the Planning Commission. There are 2 vehicles in the police department that have been proposed in the budget. One thing that we're working on this year, which we're really excited to bring forward, is a 1-year plan related to the CIP. There hasn't really been a formal adoption of a CIP, so the expectation has been set with the Public Works team, with the engineering team, that it's really important for them to plan out what they expect to accomplish in the next year as it relates to CIP. I know Councilmember Soto brought up some of those questions related to pumps and all of that. It's certainly something that we should be planning for, and it's something that we will be bringing forward, and you will be getting a presentation on the 1-year CIP, what the council should expect to be completed in the upcoming fiscal year. One of the things that I mentioned earlier on is really aligning expenditures with staffing. If we have personnel, if we have vacancies in our ranks, we're probably not going to accomplish what we set out to accomplish. So really, we know that there are certain operations that are challenged with having being fully staffed, and so in those areas we did align expenditures with staffing, and that really comes up when we look at a historical context as to what departments have expended over the last three years or so. There are some proposed improvements to city facilities, primarily on the recreation side, roofs that need to be replaced at about 3 facilities that we have included in the budget as well. And then we have proposed 1 new full-time equivalent to assist with the city clerk's function, with Monica taking the bulk of responsibility for the entire city clerk's operation, as well as her responsibilities on the executive assistant side. We definitely believe that there needs to be some assistance added to that function to help accomplish the mission of the city clerk's office. So now, the moment of truth. In terms of the proposed revenues for the city of Livingston, about 7.4 million, just under 7.5, and then our expenses are about 7.4, leaving us with a net surplus of about $75,000. And so this next slide and the next areas that we'll want to delve into are really getting the feedback from the council as to areas that the council may want to think about, provide direction today, so that we can incorporate this into the departmental budget reviews and have that presented at the next discussions that we do have. So one thing that we have identified as an opportunity for a service improvement in the city is contract staffing versus in-house staffing. Right now, the majority of our development team is on a contract basis, and they're here anywhere from 2 to 3 days a week. So if the council wishes to have city staff do that work, we have done some preliminary reviews to identify the total costs we have spent. We do believe that there is an opportunity to have full-time city staff to be able to provide that service 5 days a week to the community, and we think we might be able to improve the opportunity for the public to come in and seek input from the staff. An agenda management system. The way that the agenda is managed right now is through paper copies and emailing Word documents back and forth, which leaves a lot of opportunities for errors and working on old versions of staff reports. Agenda management systems really help streamline those processes and helps reduce the amount of paper that gets passed back and forth, and it's all done on the cloud. So it really improves operationally the ability for staff to do work on the fly and a lot quicker than passing paper around. One thing that the council has talked about consistently has been grants consultant. Again, opportunity for council to provide direction on which of these priority areas are important, of the top priority for the council. We do have a proposal to add security cameras in the chambers. Right now, there is no ability to identify people that are coming in and out. If that's something that the council wants to include, we can certainly have that provided as well. There's a number of IT infrastructure that needs to be improved. This includes a replacement of PCs, migrating to the Office 365 platform, and obviously the firewalls, servers that need to be replaced as well. We do have a proposed item or a proposed cost for that, but if the council wants us to prioritize that, it's certainly something we can do, and then we would just refine the cost allocation based on water, sewer, general fund, all of that. We did have a discussion earlier today related to some claims. There is a program that the RMA does offer, and they provide a contract service at a discount for RMA members. If that's something that the council would like us to include in the budget using Measure V funds or another source of funding, we can certainly allocate a dollar amount there to help reduce the number of claims that come in and really be proactive versus reactive. There is another opportunity that we've been talking about internally with the staff, and that is really having an economic development steward. And that person would be responsible for kind of having a kind of a hand-holding exercise throughout the development process so that they're getting the intake from the applicant, and that individual, that steward, is helping guide that applicant throughout the various stages of the development process. So they would be tasked with, among other things, also ensuring that deposits, fees are all collected, and that we centralize that collection. Right now it's done in a very piecemeal fashion, and so we think we can definitely improve not only the service that's provided to the community, but also do a better job at recovering our costs and ensuring that the city isn't necessarily subsidizing the cost of activity throughout the community. And then if there's anything else that the council wants to direct staff to look at, to include in the budget, we can certainly take that feedback in that direction during this time as well. So in terms of next steps for the council, tonight is where we do hope to get some council feedback. We want to incorporate the input and the feedback from the council. After we receive that feedback, the next step that we will be doing is refine the programs and the budget based on that council feedback. Now that's where we will do our final, preliminary final review of revenues and expenditures. At the first meeting in June, we do expect to have all the departments and divisions provide their in-depth review of all of their departmental programs and what the council should expect to be completed in the upcoming fiscal year. And then our plan is to have the budget adopted before June 30th. So in the month of June, we do expect to have the council, or we do expect to have a budget that is completely ready for council adoption before June 30th. So Mayor and Council, that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions or comments or receive any feedback that the council has on the budget.
Council, questions, comments?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. Chris, if you can go back to where it shows staff, can you go back a couple of slides? Right, there you go. There you go. Taking those areas of direction, one thing I would like to see is, as we know, cybersecurity is really, really important out there. I don't know, I don't think the council knows, maybe there is, what is the city's disaster recovery plan? What is our storage file? What do we actually do out there? What is our servers? You know, are they currently patched, or what OS are they running? You know, I don't know what we have. I know that our email system lacks quite a bit. I've seen a lot of phishing emails go through there. I've seen stuff go through there. I'm not sure exactly what they're using for look through there. Are we actually doing content blocking, content looking for folks that are accessing the web out there? I don't know what we have. I'd like to get a better detailed information on what we're doing, where we're at, what is the plan. Because I can tell you a lot of organizations that came under the issues with their ransomwares and all that, and it's not fun trying to recover. So I don't know what we have. So I would like to get something to that. And as far as contract versus house staff, I think there are some areas I think the council should look at. One is, there's nothing like having in-house staff. I think we're not big enough to have in-house engineering. We're just not that big right now. But however, I think there are some options and areas we can look at as far as planning, building permit technicians. I like to see what we're doing and what is a possibility of doing it in-house, what we're paying and what we can project to do. I think that is something we can do. As far as grant consultants, I think, and I don't know, things have changed, but I think you can hire firms to go out and get you grants, and they get paid out of the administrative fees off the grants that are awarded. No, we would say we're interested in these particular grants, and then that we used to do that, contract at the time, MCAG used to do that, others, and we had folks that we hired and they were paid through the grant. So I think we need to be, I'm not sure what we're doing right now. What are we doing as far as grants? How do we do it? I know that engineering tries to file and staff does it, but I don't think we have dedicated folks that are looking for it. And I think, so when we just submitted projects, I think there was some information that was left out, like local contributions. I think there were some issues, and I think if we have dedicated people help us, it may make things easier because we have a hardworking staff, but not everybody has that expertise. So I think that's something we really need to also look at. As far as economic development steward, can you give me more detail what you're looking at as far as economic? Are you looking for somebody to? Can you give me a little more brief information on that, please?
Yeah, so one of the things that we found in reviewing our operations is that when an applicant comes in, they're primarily just interfacing with planning. They're not necessarily getting information on what's required on the engineering side. So this person would be essentially kind of a broad development type person that would be able to identify the various steps that are needed. Okay, you need to go to planning for X, Y, and Z. You need to go to engineering for X, Y, and Z. And that person would really be the liaison that would guide them through this process. Yeah. Because right now, and that's not no fault of any staff member, it's just not set up that way right now.
It's not, and one of the, for sake of letting the applicants know and so forth, I think that is a good idea. And I don't know the workload or what it takes, timeframes, and I don't know. But for example, under contract versus in-house staff, maybe the planner or somebody like permitted, whatever, maybe that can be a multi-function where they would be the ones to meet with folks. Says here, thank you, Acme Building. If you're looking at this, here's what you need to know. Maybe those things can be done, because one of the biggest things we have is a large developers, they already have in-house people that know what they're gonna do or what questions to ask. But small-time developers, like they're doing like 1 or 2 homes or 1 home, they're gonna, not necessarily rehab, but infill a lot or something, they don't know. If we can say, hey, if you wanna do this, here's what you need to do, so we can help them, so before they start the project, they know what's involved already. Instead of going halfway and then saying, city, help me, or we didn't do this, or, I think that there's a lot of room for improvement there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't want to talk too much because I want to hear from other.
Well, it was only about 40 minutes, but thank you.
Wait till you get my bill on that one.
All right, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Ms. Soto?
Yes, thank you. These areas of direction, I'm super excited to see them come forward. In-house staff, I agree, we do need in-house people, and I believe that some of those funds should go towards training the current staff so that, because when we negotiate the rate of pay, there's no movement for them. They cap somewhere, but we do need these areas filled because we are often contracting contracting it out. And I believe that if we do have staff that we can train, it gives us a sense of pride to know that our people are doing our own work within our city. They know our city better than our outside people. So it would take them a little bit to get caught up with how our staff already knows what's going on and moving forward with getting everybody up to speed where we are as a staff currently, updating our policies, working on the general plan. All of that is coming into play, and it's folding in pretty well. The grants consultant, I do believe we do need a grants consultant. Security cameras, I kind of put like a question mark as to what's the rationale. You alluded to it, but I didn't really understand.
I believe it was maybe discussed previously by the council, and so I know that it wasn't included in the budget, so I put that on there. If it's something that the council still wants to prioritize, then it's there. But that's the only background I have on that.
This council?
It came up in December or January because someone was in the parking lot pulling door handles, and the chief brought it to the council's attention, and there was a discussion about potentially putting more security measures around council chambers since everybody is here so late at night.
I read in chambers, so I'm thinking you're in chambers, so it's surrounding.
My understanding was that it was outside.
Okay. We touched on the sidewalk repair. I can agree on that. Economic development, Stuart, congratulations. I really want to go with that idea. One of the things also, because I did see how you have the increases in the community development, and that would probably be what you're looking at for the economic development, Stuart. The increase in recreation that was proposed for that, what areas are you looking at? Because I don't see it on your. Is this what you're talking about? You gave the dollar amount, the proposed budget, and it was an increase, but I didn't see where that was going to take place in a.
Yeah, so part of that includes the reestablishment of the recreation programs that had been paused due to COVID.
Okay.
And then that also includes fireworks. It includes some of these other programs that we're budgeting for this time. The expectation is that when we do our departmental conversations, that's when we'll get into all that detail as to what's included there.
Okay. The one question, I don't know what slide it was, but a new full-time equivalent city clerk?
Yeah, I don't know where I had it, but I think it was towards the end. But essentially, a lot of the responsibilities of the city clerk have been taken on by the executive assistant / deputy city clerk. And, to be honest, that workload is pretty intense. And so making sure that that staff member doesn't get burned out and has the tools necessary to be able to accomplish their job, that's really why we're including that there.
My question is, though, we do have an elected city clerk. So why are some of these duties not being fulfilled by our elected?
So we did have a conversation with the city clerk and talked about a plan to have them learn the process and all of these things. It doesn't sound like that was necessarily done previously. And so my goal has been to try and inform that individual as to what the responsibilities are of that position. So we did have a conversation. I would say it was a very positive conversation to be able to establish whether it's training, whether it's education on the function of the city clerk's role. I can't say we had a good conversation. I don't know that historically that has always happened. And so I didn't get the impression necessarily that that person necessarily knew all of the responsibilities and the role of that city clerk role. I can't speak for what happened previously, but my goal has been to try and shed light on the responsibilities of the city clerk.
Because the way that I'm looking at that is that we pay our elected. Have we not been paying her to do that job?
As far as I know, the city has.
Okay, so we're looking at hiring another person to do the job of what Monica does, a great job that Monica does, and an elected by the people who earns a stipend for not doing what she's supposed to be doing, are not trained. I'm not sure. But that's what we're looking at, is to have 3 people doing the job of a city clerk, a full-time equivalent, an elected, and then our deputy city clerk.
Yeah, so the executive assistant / deputy city clerk role, the deputy city clerk function, for all intents and purposes, is really doing the job of the city clerk. And that workload is a full-time workload. That you need a full-time city clerk to be able to keep up with the workload. Right now, the way that it's structured, it is falling completely on the executive assistant / deputy city clerk. And like I mentioned earlier, my concern is making sure that we don't burn staff out, and that we're making sure that our staff has the help that they need to get the job done with the requirements of whether it's records retention, whether it's noticing public hearings properly, all of those things. I mean, that's a full-time job. And so the reality of it is this helps us get to the place that we need to be with the current staffing level and the current people that are involved with that on the day-to-day, even with the PRAs that come through. The city clerk's office is a very busy office. So right now, we've got one person that's essentially doing that, and that is Monica.
Well, thank you, Monica. Thank you for clarifying.
Council? Mr. Mann?
Can we please go back to the other slide, please? This one here. One back. This is the one. For the contract versus the in-house staff, that essentially, the way I understand it, is not going to cost us any more. However, the availability of these individuals will be now 5 days a week. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we've done a pretty thorough review, and I got to thank Happy for doing this analysis. We looked at the last 3 or 4 years of expenditures with the contract staffing model, and we've identified preliminarily that we can probably have full-time staff members, city staff members, for probably the same amount, if not maybe a little bit more for what we're currently paying for, but we don't see it as being cost prohibitive for us. It's really, a council preference as to how the council wishes to provide services to the community, but we think that we can make that change and still be within the last 3 years' expenditures.
As far as promoting growth, I think this will be a huge win for the city, and just a big thank you to you and all your department heads. You guys are doing a wonderful job with this. Thank you.
Mr. Rott?
Yes, for me, the in-house contracts, in-house contractors, I think that's a great thing, especially for planning. I was on planning for years, and sometimes some projects took too long, or the planner was only here once or twice a week. So I think for me that's very important. The IT infrastructure is also a big one for me. We live in a world of technology, a lot of hackers out there, a lot of bad things going on the internet, so that is huge. Also, grants consultant is another biggie for me too. I mean, I think it would help the community greatly. The economic development steward, I think that'd be a bonus for the city too. Let me see, the security cameras in the chambers, I believe that was for inside. What Chief said was inside the city council or city hall. So I think that's what he was talking about when he was talking about it. And the agenda management system is also an important thing for us. That's it.
And also under the IT infrastructure, we have, and I believe a lot of our wells and are connected through SCADA system. I don't know if they're on a closed loop or they're on open free. I don't know how we're connecting to the others. I don't know if they're through fiber. I'm not sure. I'd like to know how they are, because that's another call for concerns that's been coming out down the pipe from from the security from the feds, are saying that some of the targets that they have now is to take down water systems, and we're small time, but we got to make sure that we're not the ones that we're in trouble. We don't want our wastewater system shut down because somebody hacked it. I'd like to know what are our security features and what we have or what we need to do to make sure we are complying, because even though we may be covered by insurance, they do require certain number of safety measures. They do, otherwise they're going to say, you didn't comply with this, now we're not going to cover your loss. We don't want to find out that, somebody shut down the wastewater system, streets are flooded with, wastewater, and now the insurance is not going to help us. So we got to make sure we're complying. And that also should include multi-factor authentication for computer logons and all that. I don't know what we're doing. So I'm asking these questions because I don't know what we're doing. Huh? Yeah, so we need that, okay?
One thing, if I may add, under the other areas, I always think about this when May comes, because I know that's when we renew some of those contracts with our city facilities with the schools. And I know that I've brought that out. I'd like to find a way that we can better our partnerships with the schools, the agreements that we have with our schools, so that we are able to use our city facilities to the max. Because to me, we're not utilizing the Child Development Center over there on Walnut. It's not available. Well, there may be some recreation classes out there, but I'm not too sure. But I'm seeing that from an agenda item that we had last week, talking about the alcohol and businesses coming in. And this all comes together, how we want businesses to be here, but the discussion was putting a cap on alcohol. And we had a discussion earlier about the homelessness and other mental health issues. So what I'd like to have staff look at is to find a way that we can utilize our facilities so that we can encourage and do some research on how we can bring mental health services to Livingston. We did used to have Merced County Health. It used to be right there in that Livingston Liberty Plaza, but they're no longer here. It was a county. But I know that the information that we give people often is taken out. We're giving them, we're recommending that they search in Stanislaus County for help for homelessness, Merced. I'd like to see where we could use some of our facilities so that we can provide types of counseling, because we're looking at ways to prevent things, because having the alcohol here, it's here. That's not the problem. The problem is we're not preventing some of these things that are occurring in our town. We're losing our people to guns and opioids. We have to find a way to combat that. And we do that by providing services here in Livingston. If we have homeless, I think you mentioned 15, if we can't provide the help to them here, we're sending them elsewhere, and there's issues where they need to discuss or have a safe place, even for women, okay, that are facing domestic violence or other types of abuse and attacks, places that they can get help, not just the resources, our hotlines, because they're going to be talking to somebody back east on the phone. Some people need that immediate help and attention. So what I'd like to see is that we can develop those partnerships so that we can use our city facilities. The senior citizen, we're not using that enough. That would fall under the recreation. What can we do? I mean, I'm getting off on a tangent, but I'm seeing these as other areas that we can look into to provide mental health services, programs for our seniors, and other activities that we can use. We have an area right next door that we could use. I want to be able to maximize all these dollars that we have from our city and put it to best practices that are help our community thrive. Not just us talking about, we're going to do this and we're going to look at that. And we actually need to put these in place so that we can provide the help that our city needs to combat some of these problems that we keep talking about: the alcohol, the opioids, the guns. So I know that starts with our youth programs, and again, that's going to fall under some more programs for our recreation. But one of the things that we do need to look at is the mental health. And that's why I'm talking, we need to collaborate better and form better partnerships with our schools so that we are all on the same page on how we're going to help our youth. Parenting education. I'd like to see money go more towards educating our public, towards mental health and mental health help and services.
Thank you. For me, in regards to, I think everybody did a pretty good job covering some of the important items for the council. Personally, definitely, I do want to consider and look at the information in regards to contract versus house staffing, grants, consultant. I think we're not. I think we're missing opportunities in regards to grants out there, but just simply because we don't have the manpower to be able to do that currently. And from what I remember, security cameras or security in general was more about enhancing security in public buildings, including the chambers and city hall, or anywhere else where we really don't have it yet. And definitely, I've been seeing an increase of need for IT infrastructure, whether it's firewalls or in our system, and definitely that connects to something that I want to mention a little bit later in future agenda items. But and I do see the benefit in the economic development steward, just to be able to facilitate and help anybody that comes to City Hall in regards to regarding economic development. And that's it. I mean, not much to say other than those are some of my main areas, and I concur with the majority of the council.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Lopez, when speaking about productivity and moving to a cloud-based system, did you have one in mind that you're looking into already?
For the agenda management system?
No, I thought you were talking about for a cloud-based system in general, to where multiple editors could be in the document at the same time. I think if going to something like that would also negate your agenda management system as well, two birds with one stone, possibly.
Yeah, there's different vendors that offer different systems. I know that, for instance, there are some models that fully integrate, whether it's Laserfish and then agenda management system, and so then it becomes maybe just an add-on to an existing system that we have. There are just standalone agenda management systems that allow multiple users to work on the same thing. I've used ones from some of the, Minute Track or iCompass. Those are some of the popular ones. Really, it's dependent upon what works for the city of Livingston, because what works in a larger city may not work as well in a smaller city. So what the process that would be is bringing forward, a comprehensive team of the city clerk's office and then all the users, and getting direct presentations from those vendors, then seeing what works. And if we're able to piggyback on what an existing system that we have, then that's something that we'd want to look at. But I don't have one that I would recommend at this point without getting that in-depth feedback from the users that would actually be using it.
Sure. I know we're on Microsoft Exchange here, but in my place of employment right now, Google has worked really, really well. Just to throw it out there, that has worked really well for us. And I think it would take care of your agenda management system issue as well, but that's definitely has been a concern as we had discussed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, and then also, in this budget, do we have something regarding, because I would like for us to consider adding additional license reader cameras. So right now, I know that we have only certain areas of the city being covered, but I think, a few more might be very helpful, because I think, how many we have right now? 8? 8. So, having an additional 8 or 6, I think they've been very effective. So, but I know that we have some areas that are not currently being covered, and I think that would increase safety for the community as well.
So we can look at some proposals. I think you're referencing probably the flock camera system. We can definitely get some more proposals on additional cameras, Mayor.
Thank you. Council, anything else? We're good? Is that, Ms. Lopez, does that give you a?
Mayor, I got everything I need. Thank you, Council.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so going on for public comment in regards to this item, discussion of fiscal year budget. Any public comment on the phone? Hearing none, coming back to the chamber. Any public comment to this, in regards to this item? Coming back to the dais. So we're good? All right, we're moving forward, and now council direction on future agenda items. Mr. Mann, anything for future agenda items?
No, sir, not at this time.
Mr. Roth?
Nothing at the moment.
Ms. Soto?
All my items fell underneath this proposal.
Perfect, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem? All right, I just have a few. So I would like to see, it's been a while, and maybe if we can have an update from the architect to the recreation complex, so we can kind of have an idea, where we're at and forecast and all that. And hopefully, if it's possible, at our next meeting. And yes.
And just an update, I think we did get a confirmation that Dallin will be able to provide an update at the next meeting, Mayor.
Perfect, thank you. And then one of the other items, and I think I mentioned it before, but if we can look into, and probably, and I'm not sure if this has to be done as an agenda item or this needs to be done by staff and then brought to us. I'm not quite sure about to update the emergency preparedness protocol update. Is that something?
So I don't know if Councilmember Mann wants to talk about some of the conversations we had with Cal Fire regarding emergency preparedness, but it is something that we discussed preliminarily about getting an update to the council as to what that plan is and what you all should expect should something happen. So we can certainly coordinate a conversation, maybe a one-on-one update directly to the mayor, and then maybe something broader for the council. We can certainly work on what works best.
All right.
If I may comment on that, with Battalion Chief White, correct? Wealth of knowledge, so I would really recommend having him come to this forum here and addressing the citizens directly. I think that would be great, honestly. I learned a lot. I could share some of that with you, Mayor, but I think having him come here in person would be fantastic. I did also have one item that I did want to throw out there, was possibly an update on the ACE train and where we're at with that. That'd be fantastic, please.
Thank you. And I know that some items, that I'm going to mention, they need to start sometime. Like for instance, for us to have anything like built, we need to start having those conversations. But in the past, we haven't taken the initiative, or anyways. So, and some of these projects, I mean, they're not overnight projects. Some of them might be 2-3 years, 5-10 years. But we need to start, I believe that we need to start those conversations sometime, and I think the time is now, instead of just passing the bucket to somebody else down the road. And those include having a conversation about a skateboard park, a dog park, and a new fire station. And I know, items like the new fire station, it's, at least $6 to $10 million, but we got to start having those conversations now, even if it's going to be built in 5 or 6 or 10 years. I think it's a good time and looking at options. And I know that we need to have, I know that we need to have like land tests and all of those things that need to be done before even considering to have it built. And then also in regards to grants, just thinking ahead, most grants ideally want to have, or they want to ask us like, well, do you have the land ready? Do you have where it's going to be located? Because most of the grants want to look into just providing the money and the funding to be built. So in a way, I think it would be wise for us to be ready before we're even considering asking for grants and we don't have the initial work done. So those are items. I'm really not sure how those will be started, or if those items need to come to as an agenda item. I really don't know. So I'm going to be looking for guidance from staff. Thank you. That's it. Anything else before? So we're to adjourn this meeting at 8:59.